wonderful for you to all be here. So let's start. You can scan this QR code. It has mine and Amandeep's and his socials. You can get the event details and you can link about it, tweet about it by just a click of a button. You don't need to remember our names. What is the spelling of Kong? You don't need to remember. You don't need to remember the event title. You can just tweet about it, type anything you want before the pre-filled text, and just increase your followers count. Yeah, please feel free to attach photos. I hope the website is working. Nice, thanks. Okay, so today I will explain basics of Kong API Gateway. He showed us a demo. Hope every one of you know by now what a microservice is. We can only hope. So today I'm going to explain you one of the most basic concepts which we all start our very proper projects with: authentication, and then we get stuck at authentication for days, whereas we think it will get completed in about 5 minutes. But yeah, so that's the most crucial but most simplest concept. Okay, so a disclaimer: anything goes wrong, I'm not to blame. It's about anything can happen, I hope. Okay. How many of you like light mode? Okay. So majority wins. So about myself, I am a data scientist, backend developer, certified Neo4j professional. I am currently working at ADAX as a data scientist. I started programming right after 10th standard boast, so I boast that I have 8 years of experience, but sadly no one from HR listens to that. So I had to like 4+ years of experience. What to do? It's time for an icebreaker to get you warmed up in this cold AC. How many of you have worked with Python? What should be the output of this? Guys, come on. What do you think will be? So A is Bharat Vehicles Works Private Limited, B is Bharat Vehicle Works Private Limited, A is equal to B, this is being executed in Jupyter Notebook, so no need of main statement. What should be the output? True? All agree? True? Well, I added this sentence that no prize for guessing. Of course, it was going to be false because, I mean, if it was true, why would I add it? But anyways, so the answer is false actually, and this for this I had to debug around 45 minutes as to figuring out what is wrong with this. The answer is this space here is not equal to this space here because this is not a space but u plus 00a0. So this special character is there, and I was using this in an SQL database because this was a table name. So in a table name list, I was getting that this table name is there, but when I tried to query the database, I get not found. And this character was the reason. So data things. Okay. How many of you have in junior college science got a frog dissecting? Okay. So here we are going to dissecting Kong API. It is super simple. We have a request that comes from a client, can be your command line call, can be a mobile application which makes an API call, can be a website you visit which makes a GET request whenever you log, whatever you do. That request first, when it enters Kong API gateway, it is root, then a root maps to a service, or service maps to upstream, and then it goes out of the bounds of Kong API gateway and it goes to your backend, which may or may not be up. By the way, if it's not up, Kong will not send the request, it will take care. But anyways, so rules. So here, say a user is making a put request to update his profile and making a get request to get the orders. I am here using the root path, so the prefix is /API orders. I am mapping it to the order root, and users are mapping the users root. This is the most simplest way where we are using the request path to map to a root. We can also use headers. We can also use, say, host name to decide where the root should be. Like what root should the request map to. After the root, we have service. So here it is very simple. User root is mapped to user service and order root is mapped to order service. No magic in there. We have one more layer. User service maps to a user upstream. Order service maps to an order upstream. Why so much things? It's because then you can get the granularity of control and you can have control at various sections. So the idea is at the upstream is your final layer, where you have to forward to your backend clients. Individual Docker nodes or Kubernetes pods running on tens of thousands of servers. So now comes the most powerful part of the Kong. Okay, before that, whenever we are upstream, we can have multiple targets. What are these targets? They are nothing but your applications. So say you have Flask API server and you have replica account, say that's 3. So you have 3 instances of your Flask API server or your Go server or your Node.js server, anything. So all those are targets. So those targets register to your upstream. So whenever a request comes, that by going to root service upstream, decides that okay, this upstream, so it will forward to any of your target. Basically, this kind of acts like a load balancer. By default, uses round robin. Plugins. We all love plugins. So what are plugins? As the name suggests, they are pluggable part of a software components that you can just put into root or service where they can just attach. Plugin, pluggable, plug and play. You can remove it, you can enable it, you can disable it, you can add it for specific rules, you can add it for specific service. For example, I have a plugin I only want for user root, I don't want for others root. I have a plugin I only want for, I don't want for user service, but I want for other service. It is up to me. So we can attach plugins to upstream. So when a client request comes, first it will go to all the plugins attached to that root, whatever it gets maps to. Then it will go to the service. Then it will go. The request will go through all the plugins attached to the service, and each plugin can either deny the request or transform it and pass it forward. So someone hands me a bottle, I put limbo in it and pass it forward. So that limbo machine is my plugin to transform the request. Okay, so the majority of this talk is supposed to be a Java demo explaining a Python code base I made around 4 months ago because I was bored of that. Everyone on LinkedIn says I'm learning microservices, I'm learning microservices. I'm like, what the hell is microservice? And I wanted to learn it. Also, I attended a couple of talks regarding Elastic talks. There, everyone was like observability. And I'm like, okay, 2 things here: microservice, observability. Let's learn them together. So I started a GitHub repo. I harassed ChatGPT, asking me I want to learn microservices. I want to learn observability, and I don't want to use any cloud platform. I want everything on my laptop on Docker. What should I do? It got tons of things. I chose Kong, I chose Open Observe. I of course had to use OTL, and because I'm a Python developer, my nickname is SysMatePy. So I had to go with Fast API, no option. And yeah, that's how this project came to be: Docker, Kong, Fast API, OTL, Open Observe. So yeah, feel free to scan this QR code, it will redirect to your GitHub list, and the rest of the talk will be us exploring through this GitHub repo. So yeah. So the first things first, the most beautiful thing about a GitHub repo is this README, which I spent around half an hour to prepare it. So as you can see, this is the architecture of my, I hope you can see that. Yeah. So this is the architecture of my side project I built. I have two routes. So this is everything inside Kong API gateway. I have two routes. I have authentication route, which is user will hit for authentication, and I have a monitor route, just a dummy service. Then each of the route maps to the service, so I have auth service, I have monitor service. Then I have a couple of plugins. The order of execution for plugins also matters, and that we can set by something known as important number, priority number. So we have the JWT plugin. As Amandeep mentioned, JWT plugin is one of the ways where you can use it in Kong for authentication purpose. Then we have OpenTelemetry plugin, because hey, who doesn't want logs and traces? Then we have Prometheus plugin, because I am not using Prometheus here, but still, why not add a plugin if you can add it? Then I also have a push function, which is like a serverless function. So the benefit of the Kong plugin is you can create your own functions, like serverless functions, and you have to write the code in Lua, L-U-A. That's a programming language, but hey, who cares? Just write code in your favorite programming language, go to ChatGPT, and convert it to Lua, and use it as a plugin in Kong. So you don't have to depend upon the already existing plugins, but you can create your own plugins. Then whenever all the plugins get executed, it goes to, as mentioned, the upstream. Here, as you can see, let's jump here. So these are my containers running the APIs. So for all service, I have two containers. I will be having two containers, and for monitor service, I will also be having two containers. Both of these containers register themselves as targets. So Kong does not Kong is not a snoopy person, like who always there. We have to tell that, hey, I am here for this part, for the orders part. If anything comes related to orders, give me the request, send me the traffic. So that's how all service registers itself as a target to the all upstream. This is the observability part, which is not important as of now. So let's just directly get into the hands-on code. So I am just going to my terminal. I hope this is the time where things start to break. Okay, so here I am starting around 11 containers. So and a little bit about me, I like automation a lot. I automate everything. Whatever takes me manually half an hour, I automate that also. I'll spend 10 hours for that, but I will automate it. So all the setups, such as setting up the services, setting up the rules, setting up the first time setup of the Kong, first time setup of the OpenObserve platform, everything has been automated by me, like scripted in this code base. So as you can see, let's see the Docker containers that we have created. These are the Docker containers which are currently up and running. As mentioned, I have two instances of auth service 1 and auth service 2, which is required for authentication. We have two services for sound monitor, sound monitor 1 and sound monitor 2. This is a Kong setup service which started, set up the Kong and shut down. This is an OTL collector. OTL collector is what? It's like OpenTelemetry collector. The idea is that OTL collector, the idea is that you do not want to say currently I'm using OpenObserve and you have say 10 microservices in each of 10 different programming languages. Now, are you going to write code in all of those 10 microservices to send your logs and traces to a particular platform directly send OpenObserve? If you do, and tomorrow your company changes from OpenObserve to Grafana, again you have to change. Then they change to Elastic. Again they have to change. Something more comes up, again change. So no. So what you will do, you will write the code which will send all your logs and traces to OTL collector. OTL collector basically acts as a central point of connection for all your logs and traces. And in OTL collector, you will tell it where to forward it. So it's like a 10 microservices, send them to your OTL connector, and the OTL connector will forward it to the observability platform, whatever it is. So that's the OTL connector. Kong migration is like a simple Docker container provided by Kong itself for one-time setup of Kong. Postgres is a database which is used by Kong because here I am using Kong in a stateful manner and not a stateless manner. Then I have OPS setup service which is like a Python script and OpenObserve, which is similar to Elastic and Grafana. So now let's go through the some of the code which set up Kong. So if you can see, what we had upstreams, we had services, we had rules, and then we installed plugins. Let me show you in the console itself, because who likes code? I like, but yeah. So I forget about the, that's why I added this here. So let me go to wow. Yeah, so here we have our Kong workspace. As you can see, I have two services. I have auth service and I have Sound Monitor service. Auth service is connected to the auth root, and slash is the path is the API path, API auth. I don't have any root attached to the service. I have attached all the roots to all the plugins to my roots. So here I have two roots: auth root, Sound Monitor root, and all these are the plugins. So JWT plugin, JWT claim to header, OpenTelemetry plugin, and Prometheus plugin. I will come to JWT claim to header in a bit. So enough about what we have created. Let's have some demo, and then we will jump back to what we have created. So before that, let me just open my observability tool at localhost 50580. Yeah. Okay. Dark mode. Okay. So let's go to Postman. As you can see, I have a Postman here, and I am just sending a request. Token expired. Why? Because authentication, we have JWT. So who gave this response? I am sending a request at the others. So in my Fast API, if you see, let me just arrange things. This is my Python Fast API, a simple Fast API, pretty simple. Alerts, it will just log fetching alerts, it will wait for 1 second, it will have code, it will add it in a span. This is related to observability. It will again sleep for 1 second and return alerts. But hey, I am not able to get it to it because it is showing token expired. Why? Because I have, as you can see, there is no authentication related code here. That's all the code. I don't also have any middleware. Like I have this middleware, but it does not do anything related to authentication. So that's the thing. If you say have 5 different microservices in 5 different programming languages, you are not going to write the authentication and authorization related code in each of your applications, right? It does not make sense. You want authentication and authorization at the gate and not at the entry, like not at the buildings, at the gate only. Once you are verified and you are in, you are in. You don't need to prove that you should be there. However, you need to be identified. So that is taken care here. I will show how. So for now, here we are able to see that JWT token plugin was in the working. So let me just log in here. And now let me hit again the others endpoint. As you can see, I am able to get the others, and if I quickly jump to the logs and I run the query, okay, I need to select the query editor. As you can see, I got the logs fetching others, where and app.py, which function. So all I have. One more thing you can see here, odd user Susmit. Now, how did this come here? Any guesses? Yeah, you're absolutely right. This came through a plugin, because as you can see, in my request, I don't have anything. Like, I just have the bearer token, which is this, odd token. And in here, in my code also, I don't have anything related to fetching the username or something. All I have is a set request. Sorry about that. I have a set request attributes helper decorator, where I am from headers. I am getting this value for odd user identifier, and I am setting it. Now the question is, from where does this odd user identifier come in the headers? Because we have nothing here. The answer is, as you rightly said, plugins. So if you go to my Kong setup service, here I have my Kong setup service. If I go to install plugins, as you can see here, I have a Lua script. I have plugin configuration. So each plugin configuration is nothing but our old and gold JSON. So here I am just setting in the config access part the Lua script, and I am creating a service scope plugin. That is, I am creating a plugin for my service. If I open this access.lua, so this is a pretty simple script. First, I am getting the value for the header authorization. If not authorization, just say 401. Then I am extracting the token, the bearer token. Then I am using a JWT parser to parse it, and I get a JWT object. If in the JWT object, in the claims, like JWT claims, like claim is like, whenever you log in, the authentication system tells you that I am giving you a token. In that token, I am giving you an identity, which is your claim, which you can send it and our system will parse it. So sub, that is my claim, sub not found, then, and I'm just setting the header or user identifier to sub. Now how this value for the sub is set? It is set in my authentication service. So if I see, this is my pretty simple login with my super scalable database, a Python dictionary. Here I am just checking username and password. I am just creating a token, and here I am passing in the sub user.username. So this Susmit goes here in this all user identifier. My code does not need to know from who sent the request. Automatically in all the rocks and all the places, this will come. Now, if I go here, so that's the demo part for this, and now I am going to do something which I did not plan to, but since I am way ahead of time, so I had to do something to pass time. So if you see, in my upstream, I have, for auth upstream, I have 2 clients because I have 2 containers. Same for some monitor service, I have 2 clients. So now let's do one thing. Let's go down one of these clients. So let me go to Upstack and just, yeah, one more thing. So if you see here, I also have to show you, like prove you that this is indeed load balancing. So if you see, for each request I am adding a value for the Kong request ID, which I am adding here, X app instance ID, and I am creating a random string. So each instance of my API, say I have 2 instances, each instance of my API will have a different ID. that can be demonstrated here. So if I just go to header, you can see this, right? The value is 07 dB. If I just hit it, it should change. So CEFH, if I again hit it, 7. Okay, sorry, that is the app instance ID 7757, and if I again hit it, yeah, so that's the login. Now let's do one thing. Just let's also I have set up a health checks here. So if I go to my service, wait, I have set up back to code. Yeah, okay, it's an option. Sorry about that. Upstream, on upstream. Okay, so can anyone above here explain me the difference between passive and active? Anyone would like to forget about health checks, passive and active? Anyone interested? Yeah, please.
Passive, we basically define the frequency, so it's like backward recording, but in active, it's like always in sync.
Can you come again, please?
In active, like there's always sync maintained, but continuously and consistently. In passive thing, it's not like that.
Yeah, that's correct to some extent. So I will add on to that. So the active mode is related to active health checks. Active means actively we are pinging our servers to see if they are alive or not, if they are dead or they are alive. So that's active. The passive is like we don't actively hit them because it's passive. What we do is like we wait for our user. Who is user? He is our tester. So we wait for our tester or our user to open our website, and then we find out if our server is on or not. We don't depend on testers, we don't depend on our observability, we depend upon our users. Don't do that in production. But yeah, so if a request comes by a user and fails, then that will be detected by our passive health check. I can also have active health checks where I myself set up a service which keeps pinging another service. And then I show that traffic to my investor and get a $1 million filling. Same. I have this many users, but that was actually active health checks. Anyways, now let's do some chaos and just shut down one of this SAM monitor service. Yeah, so the SAM monitor one service is no longer there. So now when we hit via Postman, also if you see for the active, I am saying that every 5 seconds it should hit my SAM monitor. Wait, I am in the SAM monitor service, right? No. Yeah. So if you can see every 5 seconds it should ping the /health API endpoint for my application, and it should mark it as unhealthy if there is even a one HTTP failure, or there is even a one timeout. So now to ensure this works, I'm going to wait for some time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so this is working. Now if I just keep on hitting it, it should work. And the app instance ID should be same. Yeah, so now why it is working and why it is not, as you can see, it is always 7757. Yeah, so it is one only. So earlier we had two instances of your application, and both had registered themselves as a target to your my Kong upstream. And so now suddenly one goes down. So because I have set up active health checks to my targets, Kong is every 5 seconds hitting them and checking if they are alive or not. Now what I will do is like I will bring that server up again. This is going not as per plan, but okay. I had not planned this. Let me bring that up again. If you are wondering what is DPS, it is an alias I created. Just ChatGPT that I want the petty formatted Docker PS. Okay, it's back up. Now hopefully we will again go to round robin. Also one more thing. If you have only passive health checks, what are passive health checks? What are passive health checks? Yeah, so whenever a request comes, an actual request comes, we based on that decide if it is good or not. So when our instance goes down, and if we have only passive health checks, when the instance comes up, there is no way for us to know if the instance has come up, right? Because Kong will not send it equal request, like it will not say like, चल इस यूजर को क्या मानते हैं, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा, इसको पक्का बनाते हैं, मशीन चालू है कि नहीं देखने के लिए नहीं, वो ऐसा नहीं करेगा. That's why if our instance goes down and comes back up again, the only way we will know if that instance is back up and up again or not is that if we only have active headshots or not, because we'll keep pinging those who are also down. So now since that should be back up, fortunately, let's see. 7757 QWGP. So that means now based due to the active health checks, Kong has identified that hey, that machine came back up again and it is now starting for forwarding the traffic to it. If I just open observe quickly, I can also see a bunch of requests there. So let me go to places and run query. So yeah, this sound service you see, that's my custom code in OBS utils, where I am setting up the tracer and logger and sending all the requests to my OTL collector, and this is the OTL collector config. As you can see, we have exporter. So what is an exporter? In an OTL collector, an exporter is anything which decides where to export your logs and cases to. So that is an exporter. Processor is nothing but to ensure, let's say we get 15 records over 15 seconds. We just don't keep sending one record at a time. We batch them and send them together. So that's processors. Receivers is an OTLP. This is the receiver to where my application hits, and this is just a pipeline like for logs traces. So now, as I mentioned, Kong also supports observability in itself. So by itself, it also sends its own metrics, which you can see here. So these are my service, and this is you select Kong. So these are the traces generated by my Kong API gateway, which is sent to OpenObserve. So due to this, as you can see, you know that the plan that was this. So I do not have to code anything. I just have to install Kong, connect, give it the OTL call, install the OpenTelemetry plugin in Kong, and based on that, it will send all the traces information. And this is very helpful for debugging or analytics. So yeah, I think that's about it. Feel free to connect with me. This is my portfolio link. You may have my LinkedIn. You already have my LinkedIn, but anyways. And almost everywhere I'm Susmit PY. There is something common between me and my previous speaker. We both talk about Kong. Both are is not here. Okay, both are us from India. Both of us are not engineers by degree. And there is one more thing in common, raise your hand. So, generally in meetups, around 40-60% people I have met before. So, that sentence was for me. Any guesses do you think what is going to come up?
You are both members of ENSO.
Yeah, there is one more thing.
You volunteer for later.
Yeah, I volunteer for. Yeah. So, how many of you are engineers in the room? Engineers. Engineering college. Yeah, everyone. So, I'm from Dilrupa College, Mumbai. We are capable, but this Gira is holding us back. This picture is 3 days ago. I just go there whenever I want to get a smile on my face. Security does not let me in, that's a different thing, so I have to stand outside and take a picture. But anyways, I get entry on $15 courtesy January Ganesh Chaturthi, and every year there is a flower exhibition. So there's 4 days in a year when I get into my college. So yeah, thank you for Q&A. Let's have a chat.